Hey, my name's Sean, gamer wannabe and tight ass extraordinaire. You know, the Sega Genesis and I have a lot in common. We're both full of righteous 90s dude, we desperately want your attention, and we're cheap. At least, relatively cheap to collect for in the Sega Genesis case. You just don't need a ton of cash to have a great, classic Genesis experience. Which is actually why it's one of my all-time favorite consoles. So in honor of such a backhanded compliment, seriously, no offense Genesis, it's a good thing. I want to recommend to you my top 5 cheap Sega Genesis games. What gets a game on such a prestigious list, you ask? Well, obviously the game should be cheap. No specific prices here, but roughly $15 or less loose. It should be good and fun, even for someone who's, I don't know, maybe super impatient and super shitty at video games? Like me. That person is me. Finally, it needs some flair, some panache, some chutzpah. Chutzpah. Not actually sure if that's how you pronounce that. That makes it actually worthwhile to show off on your shelf and play in your Genesis. But a huge disclaimer. Sega doles out their retro licenses like they're tossing out Tootsie Rolls at a shitty parade. Now, I actually love this because there are so many solid ways to play the best Sega titles, cheap or, more importantly, expensive. I prefer the most recent Sega collection for the Nintendo Switch, or the Sonic Mega Collection Plus for the GameCube to play Sonic 3 and Knuckles complete with that radical 90s lock-on technology. But you have tons of great choices, and the strongest recommendation I'll make in this entire episode is that you get at least one of these. That's why there are no games in my small list here from any one of those Sega collections, because A, I recommend you get one of those anyway, B, it forces me to think a little outside the box, and C, I am spineless, and it would be really hard to pick from all those tremendous first-party titles. That's why my first and most important honorable mentions for tight-ass Genesis collectors goes to the Sonic Classics collection, a single Genesis cart containing Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, and the Sega 6-pack, a Genesis cart with Sonic 1, Columns, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, Revenge of Shinobi, and Super Hang-On. I love compilations. They're very tight-ass friendly. And to me, these are special because they pack multiple, complete, undoctored, not emulated games on their original hardware. Both score really high on the tight-ass collectability meter, with Sonic Classics coming in at 4 out of 5 stars or hearts or thumbs up or whatever the hell it is people use to show approval these days, while the 6-pack is a perfect 5 out of 5 because I think literally every Genesis owner should have this game. It's just an awesome representation of the larger Genesis experience in one cart. But it doesn't make today's official list because that would feel like cheating. A few more quick honorable mentions. On a system full of sports games, I think Midway's NBA Hang Time, not any Acclaim NBA Jam game, is the best one. Even though Bloody Mortal Kombat feels like the iconic Genesis choice, Super Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition with a 6-button controller is the best Genesis fighting experience. Maybe, I think. I'm so bad at one-on-one fighters that I noted on my resume right below my convicted felonies, so it's hard for me to judge. Also, both it and Road Rash 2 are on the Sega Genesis mini console, which I suppose counts as one of those collections I just blacklisted. It's a shame too, because Road Rash 2 was the #1 game on today's list until I remembered to check that damn mini console, and it bugged me so much I almost changed my own rules. But this is not that serious, so it's not a big deal, just means I had to try a few more games. Last but not least, most Disney games on Genesis are better experienced elsewhere, a hair more expensive than I wanted, or a spiteful means of using beloved animated characters to suck the self-esteem out of the souls of children. However, even though I prefer Aladdin on the Super Nintendo, it's a notably different game on the Genesis, more so than other Disney conversions, that I almost enjoy when I'm in the mood to be emotionally punished for no reason. Anyway, all 4 of these honorable mentions score a tight-ass collectible 4 out of 5 because I would recommend them for most Genesis owners, but they didn't fit today's list because reasons. Okay, if I don't shut up, my intro is going to be longer than the rest of the video, so let's finally get to the real deal. Number 5. If I can't punch people from my motorcycle in Road Rash, I want to shoot them from my future car. So I'm playing RoadBlasters from Atari Games in 1991. It looks like a racing game and acts like it wants to be more car combat before that was really a thing, but in general it's just an entertaining genre mesh of a game where you drive fast and shoot stuff. You can play emulated versions of the RoadBlasters arcade game on some later compilations, and it was ported to tons of late 80s computers as well as the Atari Lynx and NES, so no, it's not totally unique. But for today, I really don't care if it's Genesis exclusive. What matters is that this Genesis port is actually my favorite version of the game, because it's a well-made, great fit for the Genesis audio-visually and perfect for the controller. RoadBlasters is a very tight-ass collectible 4 out of 5 whatevers, suitable for most console owners. Number 4. Jurassic Park Rampage Edition from Blue Sky Software and Sega in 1994 is a pretty polarizing action game, and I totally get it. The title is confusing since it's supposed to be a sequel, the control and flow of the game takes some getting used to, the objectives aren't super clear, and Jurassic Park purists might not appreciate the opportunity to play as Dr. Alan Grant gunning down every dino and InGen employee in sight, occasionally while actually riding a Velociraptor. That is, if you didn't choose to play as the Velociraptor from the beginning, another neat feature. But if you're willing to dive headfirst into this fever dream, you'll find a wild gameplay experience with an interesting aesthetic that you just can't get anywhere else. Polarizing, sure, but Rampage Edition is still a tight-ass 4 out of 5 in my book for combining just functional enough with audaciously doing its own damn thing. Number 3. Konami actually did lots of good things with Warner Brothers properties back in the day, including Tiny Toon Adventures, Buster's Hidden Treasure, exclusively for the Sega Genesis in 1993. This just is a Genesis game, literally and figuratively. It's a speedy 2D platformer that looks and sounds great, just like Sonic, right? Well, yeah, but it's also just a nice, natural progression from Konami's previous Tiny Toon games in what I'll politely just call an appropriate Sonic Genesis style. It takes a minute to acclimate to Buster. I'm too dumb to explain it very well, but it's like there's no momentum to his physics. And like Sonic, you can't always go as fast as you want. But hey, you know the old saying, tight-ass beggars can't be picky tight-ass choosers. Or however that goes. Anyway, Buster's Hidden Treasure gets 4 out of 5 scory point thingies because it's a great marriage of system, gameplay, and style. I think most Genesis owners would appreciate having it. Number 2. Subterranea from Zyrinx, hey, that's kind of fun to say, Zyrinx, and Sega in 1994 inspired this whole video. It's a 2D multi-directional shooter with some adventure and resource management vibes. It's very crisp in aesthetic and gameplay, a unique experience on and completely exclusive to the Genesis, and is almost universally liked by folks who have it. And most Genesis owners really should. It's maybe not sexy, the lesser-known developer, a less popular subgenre, maybe a bit muted in the look and sound departments, but honestly, to me, it all works as like a very polished take on an ancient arcade experience. I always say that I'm bad at games and I have a short attention span and all that, and I mean that sincerely. I play a lot of games for these videos for like 20 minutes before realizing that my pathetic weak little arms can't even break a Genesis controller in my maximum fit of rage levels. But something about this game just kept me going. Maybe the balance, or maybe the precise fuel-saving physics of floating around in space like Wall-E using that fire extinguisher to propel himself back to his ship. Subterranea gets 4 out of 5 tight-ass collectability units, and most system owners really should have this in their collections. Number 1. Before EA evolved into its final JRPG bad guy boss form, it was a slightly more humble demon spawn who really did great things for the Sega Genesis. Strike series games were always multi-console, but for my money, Jungle Strike on the Genesis is the best version of the best game in a pretty darn good series. I think. I really didn't touch a computer game until 2004, so I can't speak to the retro PC stuff. But this is an excellent shooter that also exercises your strategic muscles from kind of a 3/4 top-down view that gives it a pseudo 3D vibe. You can nitpick between the Super Nintendo and Genesis versions of this game for visuals and audio. Honestly, my lone qualm with this game is that it's not very full or lush on any version in these departments, but it feels and plays better on the Genesis. Like you can immediately tell it was developed for the Genesis first and optimized for the 3-button controller. I always have so much fun playing this without even really progressing at all, just testing to see what does and does not blow up. So like RoadBlasters, it's not exclusive, but it deserves the top spot in this thrifty list for being an almost mandatory Genesis experience that happens to be extremely inexpensive. Don't let the stupid mismatched size of this extra-large cart turn you off. Damn it, EA! Because this absolute gem is easily 4 out of 5 tight-ass collectible whatevers, and it belongs on nearly every Genesis shelf. Okay, so a 5-game lightning round hardly proves a point. But if you are going to have the audacity to demand fun retro gaming experiences whilst stubbornly pinching your pennies, exactly how I live my entire life, I think the Sega Genesis could be your best overall option, and my picks here are naturally just a small sample. On that note, I am not being modest when I say that I don't know anything. It took me 10 minutes to realize that B and C fired different weapons in Jungle Strike, so the fact that I've even cobbled together a technically functional video is worth a celebration beer all by itself. My point is that I selfishly want you to tell me what I'm overlooking because I'm always excited to find more good, cheap games. And thanks for watching, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.